This, my friends, is Hell Let Loose, a World War II first-person shooter that's about to launch on console, or perhaps has launched by the time you watch this video, and you are in for an incredible treat. This sort of game very, very rarely comes to console. But before you buy this game, in fact, before you even think about trying this game, it's very, very important to understand what sort of experience Hell Let Loose offers. Otherwise, you're going to be extremely disappointed, very, very frustrated. You won't have any fun at all, and you'll probably uninstall the game, never to return. And that would mean you'd be missing out on one of the most amazing experiences on PlayStation and Xbox. Hell Let Loose might look like a World War II Call of Duty or Battlefield, but it is nothing like them at all. Call of Duty and Battlefield are arcade games compared to Hell Let Loose. Hell Let Loose is a World War II simulator, and it's the closest thing to Arma we've ever had on console. Unless you approach Hell Let Loose with the attitude that it is a military simulator and all that entails, you will not be able to enjoy this game. But if you do, Hell Let Loose may well become your favourite game of all time. Hell Let Loose plays out on massive World War II battlefields. It's 50 versus 50. The overall aim is normally to capture more territory than the enemies have in war mode, or by successfully attacking or successfully defending in the offensive game mode. Territory is won or lost by capturing strong points, areas on the map, and that will move the front line backwards and forwards in a very similar way to if you've ever played the front lines mode in Battlefield, or imagine a conquest mode in Battlefield where all the capture points, where all the flags were all in a line. Now the games can last up to an hour and a half, so this is a serious time commitment. Both sides have multiple roles that you can fill. Both sides have one commander, then they'll have several squads, and then they have armour, transport and artillery assets. Within each squad, there are again several roles you can take. You could be the squad leader, there's a medic, there's support, there's assault, there's a machine gunner, and there's anti-tank roles. Now, the first Hell Let Loose gameplay feature you're going to have to get used to is that the only soldiers on the map with telescopic sights are the snipers, and each side has only 2 snipers each. That's it, 2. The rest of the players have to put up with using iron sights on your submachine guns, your bolt action rifles, your semi-autos, your assault rifles and your LMG. So unless you're very lucky and you get in early at the beginning of the game and get to pick the sniper role before anyone else does, you're only going to be able to effectively engage enemies at close and medium range, and that can be a little bit odd to start off with. You know, there's no red dots here, there's no glass sights here. This is all about iron sights if you're a normal soldier, or telescopic sights if you're a sniper. While we're on the subject of snipers, Hell Let Loose next feature is how dangerous those snipers are. Seriously, there may only be 2 of them on the opposing team, but they will easily get kill after kill after kill unless you take that threat seriously and hug cover at every opportunity. In Hell Let Loose, you simply cannot diddy-bop across a field or down a road as you try to get in the action, unless you take advantage of every single piece of cover available. Unless you crouch run along those hedgerows or along that wall, you'll get your head blown off. And the game doesn't tell you who killed you or from where. Now, you could try running fast or zigzagging, and although that helps a little bit, your character doesn't actually move that fast, so when you have the opportunity for one-hit kills, you can go down very, very quickly, and then you'll just be dumped back at a spawn, and you'll feel frustrated, you'll feel angry, but it will have been your fault because you weren't simply careful enough. In Hell Let Loose, what you've got to do is you've got to listen out for gunfire, so you get an idea of where the enemies are. You can see where your friendlies are by the team markers, and then you just look at the scene in front of you. And if it's an open field and you can hear gunfire to one side, then you don't just go across that open field. You have to just understand and be aware that there's going to be snipers and other soldiers looking across that field, looking out for you, because they know where you'll want to go. They know you'll want to go towards the strong points to capture them. And whenever you get that feeling of, I think this is a bad idea, in Hell Let Loose, genuinely, almost every single time, it is, and you'll get killed. As I've said, most of the time in Hell Let Loose, you simply won't see the enemy who killed you, or even the enemy you're looking for. There's plenty of blind firing towards where you think the enemy are. You'll be throwing grenades into buildings. You'll be following tanks to let them lead the way. And often you'll be totally confused about what's going on. The only real safe way to approach targets and strong points is by flanking. Or, as I say, by using cover. So your enemies don't see you coming, and hopefully you'll have a chance of getting the jump on them. Now, Hell Let Loose has a comprehensive radio system, and you've got to use it. The commander has to talk to his squad leaders, and squad leaders have got to talk to each other and their individual squad members. They need to be able to coordinate attacks, where to put supplies, where to down artillery, and who should be attacking, who should be defending. And if you're not on the radio communicating with your squad mates or using the proximity chat, you will be doomed to fail. When you do become a squad leader, you've also got to make sure that you're building garrisons and outposts, because these are the spawn points that you can create on the battlefield so that your soldiers can spawn in close to the action. And if squad leaders don't do that, then their soldiers have to spawn in back at the HQ spawn points, which means they have a very long run across the map. So if you ever find yourself in a squad where the squad leader isn't doing that, change squads or create a new squad yourself. Also, being a PC port, you'll find a lot of the user interface, things like the menus in Hell Let Loose, is very poorly optimized for console. The icons and text are way too small, and the controls are not that intuitive at all. Hopefully, the developers will change this as they get more time, but you're just going to have to put up with it for now. So, you're probably thinking by now, well, this all seems a bit complicated, but this is a World War II game, so why did you mention DayZ in the title? Why do you need a DayZ attitude for this game? Well, I think for a number of reasons. I think probably a lot more console players, you may well have had an experience of DayZ rather than Arma, especially if you've watched this channel. And if you have, I want you to think about how difficult it was to play DayZ when you first started out, how frustrating DayZ was when you didn't understand what was going on, how easy you died, and how the game didn't give you enough information. Also think about the gunfights you've had in DayZ. Maybe you heard shots in the distance and you carefully approached where you think the enemies might be. You hugged the tree lines. You carefully avoid the obvious routes through the urban areas. You flanked round to hopefully get you an advantage on the enemy, and how, because of all that effort, in DayZ, every life was incredibly important, and you would never throw it away with a mad dash towards an enemy. In DayZ, you really have to think about each engagement to survive, otherwise you'll lose all that hard work you put in trying to get into that advantageous position, and Hell Let Loose has to be treated just like that. We've been very much conditioned by games like Battlefield and Call of Duty that, you run in, you fight, you die, you spawn, you run in, you die, you fight, you spy, and that's a very quick gaming loop. Hell Let Loose isn't like that. In order to get into a situation where you can really give it to the enemy, you've got to take a lot of time slowly crawling across fields, making your way up hedgerows, climbing through buildings to get yourself into that position, and then you can take on the enemy. If you just run blindly towards the objective, you're just going to get mowed down and then have another long run back towards the action. What all this adds up to, and as I've said in the title of this video, Hell Let Loose is a military simulator, and it's got to be treated as such. You're not going to be firing up this game like a game of COD or Battlefield for a quick run and gun session. In Hell Let Loose, you've always got to be carefully thinking about your tactics and strategies, how you're going to be working and talking with your squad and your team, always hugging every part of cover. And you've got to treat this really seriously, and then you will have an amazing, immersive World War II experience like nothing else on console. So one of my biggest takeaways from Hell Let Loose is it's not all about the shooting It's not all about the fighting. It's about enjoying the environment they've created. It's about crawling along through that wet ditch. It's about listening to the gunfire. It's about seeing those artillery and those bombing strikes coming in and enjoying that side of it. Hearing those enemies' footsteps on the other side of the hedgerow and thinking, oh my gosh, what's about to happen? And then you have this is almost, I think, like PUBG and DayZ moments, where you've got that adrenaline pumping. You're like, oh gosh, right, there's people there. Right, I've got to get them. And you've got these guns that, although do have a little bit of aim assist, are quite difficult to control, so you've got to make sure you're doing things properly. Really is very, very special indeed. But as I've said, unless you treat it like a military simulator where you've got to keep your head down, hug cover and work with your teammates, it will get very, very, very frustrating. So that's enough from me. What I'll do is I'll leave a link to Hell Let Loose Beginner's Guide in the description below the video that gives you a great head start on the things you need to know when you get into Hell Let Loose. And if you've enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, please subscribe. And of course, if you've got any questions about Hell Let Loose, let me know and I'll probably do some videos about them. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.